Good morning. This is Maureen Ennor with Red, White, and Blonde. And I have today a fantastic guest. He is the Republican candidate for the 21st District of Texas, Trey Trainor. Trey, welcome to my show.
Hey, thanks, Maureen. It's great to be with you.
So, Trey, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet with you and some of your staff the other day in Bernie at the Black Rifle Coffee
Yeah,
shop.
yes.
And you put on a meet and greet, and I walked right up to you and said, I want to get you on my show.
Uh,
That's the way I do it.
Happy to be here. Yes, I like aggressive reporting.
Well, I'm not MSNBC, but
There you go.
So, Trey, introduce yourself to my audience. Tell us about yourself. You have a wonderful background. You'll do a better job than I do. Let's hear it.
Sure. So, as you said, Maureen, name's Trey Trainor. I'm a candidate for Congressional District 21 in Texas. It's a seat that covers most of the Texas Hill Country from San Antonio north and west. For the past 5.5 years, I was President Trump's appointee on the Federal Election Commission. He actually nominated me there in 2017. I was confirmed by the Senate in 2020 after a long struggle with Senator Schumer to get me confirmed because they didn't want somebody as pro-Trump as me on the commission. But was there for 5.5 years. Before that, in 2017, I worked for the president over at the Pentagon for 3 months during the first administration. Was sworn in 4 days after the president was. In 2016, I worked for the president's campaign as counsel to the platform committee in Cleveland and worked on the recount in Michigan that the Green Party asked for that year. I've spent the past 25 or so years practicing law in the state of Texas. I'm board certified in campaign and legislative law. I've been active in the Republican Party of Texas for over 25 years. I served as legal counsel to the party for 3.5 years. And before that, I was general counsel to the Secretary of State here in Texas. And I spent 10 years working in the legislature for various members of the state legislature. So I've had my own law practice. I've been at large law firms. I'm currently a partner at the Dhillon Law Firm now after I've left government service.
And let's talk about the Dhillon Law Firm. I'm familiar with Harmeet and her firm. I'm from San Francisco, now living in Texas. I call myself California girl meets Texas grit here in Texas. But most of my audience knows my husband died in the line of duty. Oscar Rocha, he had COVID. And I reached out to Harmeet's firm when my husband was dying in the ICU at John Muir. And she put someone in charge and she was able to get me in there to see my husband for 30 minutes. And I'm forever grateful to Harmeet and however she did that. So.
Well, we pride ourselves here at the firm on being able to help people in all sorts of situations. There aren't very many law firms in the country who will take on conservative causes, and everybody needs legal representation, and particularly big law firms have skewed more to the left, and so it's important for us to have law firms out there that will work with people on the right and defend our rights, because the left is very good at the lawfare aspects of it, and so we need attorneys like my partners at the Dhillon Law Firm to be able to do that.
Yes, and Harmeet is civil rights attorney appointed by Donald Trump,
Yeah,
and her
yeah.
official title is escaping me, so help me out.
She is the Deputy Attorney General for Civil Rights, so she's no longer with our firm currently. She is actively working in government service, and then we have another one of our partners who left the law firm, Dave Warrington, who is currently serving as general counsel to the White House, and so
Right.
he is working very closely with the president every day.
And tell me what you do at Dhillon Law Firm.
So I do mostly election-related litigation, but I do really all sorts of First Amendment and election litigation that I work on. Most recently, I've spent a lot of time working with different entities on getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion activities at our university levels. The state of Texas has passed legislation to try to eliminate that in our colleges and universities, and so I'm working with some clients who are actively trying to get rid of that.
Interesting. I'm surprised Harmeet doesn't have time to do both. I mean, you know?
Well, she's prohibited by law from having kids.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah.
so.
She's
But
amazing.
if not, she's the Energizer Bunny. She'd keep going.
She is. She's amazing. She's amazing. Okay, let's talk Texas politics in the Texas Hill Country. Chip Roy is currently our representative here in the 21st district, and
Yeah.
he's running for the top cop position in Texas, the attorney general. I wish him well. Chip has done he's done a lot for me as far as when I go to Washington D.C. for police week, and he's always taking care of me. I find his work wonderful. I think he's done a great job. And I think I mentioned this to you. He has put the 21st district on the map here in Texas on a national level. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look, Chip has done a fantastic job in representing us on all sorts of issues, not the least of which is his fiscal conservatism and working to protect the border. And those continue to be two of the top issues that we see, not only in the 21st district but across the country. While the border wall has been completed, we still have millions of illegal aliens that are in the country that need to be rounded up and shipped home. And it's unsustainable for us with regard to the level of debt that the country's operating in. And so, he's done a magnificent job on those two issues in particular. And now is running for attorney general here in Texas. And yeah, I'm with you. I wish him the best in that. And I
Uh-huh.
think if the voters choose him for that, I think he'll do an excellent job. He works hard, studies hard, and is always very active in his efforts.
I agree. I really wish him well. And Chip, I've reached out to your campaign. I'm telling you now, I'd like you to come on my show. I'm sure you will. Um, I'll have to drive to his next event.
That's exactly right.
So when I mean that he put the 21st district on the map nationwide, do you follow what I'm saying, that there's a lot of attention on this district?
Oh, I think there's an incredible amount of attention on this district, not the least of which stems from, the July 4th floods that we had in Kerrville. Obviously brought a lot of national attention to what's going on, and there's still enormous amounts of rebuilding efforts, and it's going to take a long time for us to get rebuilt there. But the level of response that Chip Roy and his office had to that, and getting the president here very quickly to come and meet with victims and to actually see firsthand the destruction that took place. That is incredible. I mean, it takes that level of leadership and the ability to pick up the phone and call the president. And it's that type of leadership, frankly, that I want to offer this district. And part of the reason why I'm running, for me, one of the biggest issues in this race is experience and leadership. And having worked closely with the president all the way from the 2016 campaign through until he came back into office this year, for me, is one of the things that I offer is the ability to, go over to the White House and sit down and meet with the president and talk to him. And there are so many issues in our district that need national level attention. As I mentioned earlier, obviously the border issues are important, the fiscal issues are important, but we have lots of local issues that need to be addressed as
Uh-huh.
well. We have
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the issues. What are voters saying to you, and what are their concerns here?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, the number one concern continues to be border security and cleaning up but really that has manifested itself now that the border is closed with the cartels and the drug trafficking that's gone on. Interstate 35 runs from obviously it runs all the way from Canada to Mexico, but through the district starting in Hayes County, just south of Austin, all the way to San Antonio, and the amount of drug interdictions that are taking place for fentanyl trafficking and all of the other various drugs that are out there really shows the active movement of the cartels within our community. And those are things that have to be rooted out. And there needs to be a real federal focus on making sure that that happens. There's $11 billion coming back to the state of Texas for the cost that the state had for Operation Lone Star. And that amount was included in the big, beautiful bill but it's important to make sure that that money actually comes to Texas. The big beautiful bill has that money allocated, but there's no trigger mechanisms for it to be paid. And so at the end of the day, it could be 6 months, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 6 years before Texas sees the full amount. And we need to make sure that that gets here as soon as possible because our law enforcement is really struggling to do that. And they need to continue to cooperate with ICE. I mean, we're housing hundreds of people in our county jails that have ICE detainers, and I'm very proud of all of our law enforcement across the 21st District for working very closely with ICE. From what we see around the country, that's not always the case. But we need to make sure that ICE has the resources that they need to get these people out quickly because, again, the taxpayers in the 21st District don't need to continue to foot the bill for somebody that's here on an ICE detainer as well. So those are two big kind of national issues that come into play. Locally, the biggest issues that I hear about are water. Our water
Yep.
issues are very important. Most of the 21st District sits over the Edwards Aquifer. And so there's always concern about what happens with the recharge and the amount of water that's being taken from that. A lot of it's caused by the growth and development that we have of multifamily housing within the district, and so we've got to get a hold of that and make sure that that growth is controlled, and that we have the appropriate water agreements in place when we do that. And then the last is probably a holdover from the Biden-Harris administration and the green scam that they put together. I mean, we have these battery energy storage facilities that are trying to be
Right.
built here in the Hill Country, and those systems themselves are very problematic. And the only reason they operate is because they get a subsidy from the federal government, and we've got to get rid of those subsidies.
Water, interesting. I am a native Californian, as everyone knows. California girl, moved here 5 years ago. My whole entire life, 56 years, I lived in California. Water,
Absolutely.
water. We had a drought. We had nothing but problems with water. Now we're finding through the fires in the Palisades and Donald Trump doing some work that it was always a man-made drought. It was manipulated by the politicians. Is
Absolutely.
that what we're seeing here in Texas, or is there a serious water problem?
Well, first and foremost, there's enough water in Texas to go around. But I will tell you that one of the things I think hinders the movement and the development of proper water management activities are the all of the red tape that comes with the federal government. When the
Mhm.
EPA gets in the way and says that they're endangered species, which,
Yeah.
if you look around the Hill Country, they may have been endangered at some point, but I think the act has probably outlived itself. And
Yeah.
so they're back in place, and yet you have to work around all of these extra time elements and all of the legal fights that go into putting in appropriate water movement
Yeah.
systems, water management systems, and those type of things. So we've really got to buckle down and look at what the regulations are that are in place.
I find that trying to explain to people one of President Trump's the strongest ability he has is getting through the red tape and regulation.
Absolutely.
That is what's affecting our business, corporate, small business, across the board, regulations.
Yes.
He's come in and been an absolute champion to get rid of these regulations. And it's
Right.
a long, windy, nasty road of trying to undo what has been done before, right?
It is, absolutely, without question. Well, first and foremost, Donald Trump is successful in Washington, D.C. because he takes action. And
Mhm.
Washington, D.C. is a place that hates to take action. They love to send things to committee. They love to review it. They love to try to, pencil whip it to death. I mean, they do all of those things. And what Donald Trump does so well is that he sees a problem and he takes actions. And he may not be 100% correct the first time he tries it, and he recognizes that. But, if he can get 90% there and get people back on track to where they need to be, then he's happy with that outcome. And then we can fix the last 10%. And that's really the type of leadership that we need. We need that same type of leadership to play over into Congress. He's been very aggressive with executive orders that he's put out there. And I think that's fantastic. What we haven't seen is people in Congress who picked up those executive orders and said, let's make this the law. If it's doing so well through executive order, we ought to make those changes can make them permanent so that the country can continue to move forward. Most of the business community says, look, we don't care what the regulations are. We just want them to stay consistent and know
Right.
what the rules are. And at the end of the day, that's what they want, is just that consistency from government. And they don't have it right now, because people aren't moving forward with putting those executive orders in place. The other thing for me in working with the Trump administration is just his recognition of all of the problems that we have. When I was in charge of the Federal Election Commission, we were going through the Doge effort, and it was great to have the authority and the ability to look around the agency and see where is the waste, where's the fraud, where's the abuse that we can get rid of, and have an immediate lever that could be pulled, whether it was getting rid of an employee that just had been there too long, whether it was getting rid of a regulation that was just causing problems. And the great thing about the Federal Election Commission was that it was, in most cases, it was bipartisan for us to get rid of that. Everybody recognized that those that are being regulated by our rules are not being served well by those regulations, and we need to get rid of them.
Going back to something that you just said resonates with me, and maybe tell me what you think. When you say, Trump does an executive order and then Congress doesn't really act on it. And I
Right.
think a lot of politicians, that's how they see their job security. They don't do anything, then they campaign and say they're going to do something and get elected. And it's just this vicious cycle of nothing ever gets done. And now we have somebody in office like Trump. He's going to hold you to what you say, and he wants things done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, think about it. In my lifetime, I cannot think of an agency of the federal government that has solved the problem that they were created to solve. So we've never seen federal agencies just go away. And yet Donald Trump has come in and done away with things like USAID because they're not fulfilling a mission that is critical to the United States. He is working diligently to get rid of the Department of Education and let our education system be run at the local level by local education administrators. I mean, those are the type of things that the Trump administration is doing, and those are the type of things that I want to continue to do. I mean, we only have 3 more years of Donald Trump, and
Exactly.
yet we're going to have to continue to operate as a country, and we need people in office who are going to take that vision and start to pare down the size of the federal government. And that's the only way that we're ultimately going to address the debt that we have, is getting rid of all of the bureaucracy that we have, because there's an enormous amount of expense that we have in bureaucracy, and the red tape and all of the regulations that we create for private industry. We're really just standing in the way.
Well, in the 40 plus years that I've been interested in politics, I supported President Reagan when I was in high school. I wasn't old enough to vote. I became a young Republican in California, in San
That's
Ramon,
a tough job right there.
San Ramon. Well, Reagan was from California, that
That's
was,
true. True.
but, I went to California high school in San Ramon, and we had a young Republican group then, and I'm sure they don't now. Maybe I need to go back to my alma mater.
That's
But it has been red tape, bureaucracy, and bloated government for 40 plus years. And God bless President Trump.
yes.
And I'm
Yeah.
not ashamed to say it. I called his campaign. I covered his campaign in 2015 when he rolled up on the border in Tijuana and shook every hand of the Border Patrol and all the police. I covered that. I was on LA Talk Radio then, and I called it. I said he will win this because no other candidate in my memory ever did that.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Rolled up on the border with a trucker hat before the MAGA hat,
Hmm.
and everyone just like, what was this? And I said, my God, in my lifetime, I've never seen a candidate go to the border, shake every first responder, every police officer's hand, and say he was going to fix the border.
All right.
And
Now,
I called it. I said he would win, and I took a lot of heat for it. I fought for a year and a half. Like, I knew he was going to win. And in California, I had never seen such a mass turnout when he went to events. I went to several rallies. I went to the GOP event they had on the peninsula. Like, we were shocked by it. And it was definitely a message that was coming through.
he's a master of meeting with the common voter where they're at. And, for me, it's something that I've actually learned from him. Over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing that where I met you, frankly. I've been doing this over the past couple of weeks. I mean, obviously, and nobody has the kind of draw that he has to a rally, but I took that and I said, hey, let's just go around the district and let's do meet and greets at local coffee shops, at local restaurants, whatever it might be. And let's sit down and give the voters the opportunity to talk about anything and everything that they want to. And so for the past 2 weeks, I've done that. We're going to take a little break for Christmas, and we'll continue to do that into the new year. In fact, when I finish this interview, I'm headed out to New Braunfels. I'm going to Black's Barbecue, and I'll be there all afternoon and meeting with anybody that wants to come show up and talk about issues. But that's the type of thing that Donald Trump has done. I think in some ways he has gotten back to a level of retail politics that has been missing for a long time. I mean, President Reagan was probably the last one to really go out and meet with voters in that same type of way. And you're right. That's what has endeared him to so many people. Is that they feel like he's one of them, or at least he's taken the opportunity to listen, and they feel like they're being heard.
So simple, though, isn't it?
It is.
Just so simple.
It
Go
is.
meet your people and
Right.
find out what's hurting them. What do
Right.
they need?
Right.
That, we've gotten into this complex political machine
Right.
that forgets it's about the people.
It is.
And Donald Trump works for us, we the people.
Right. That's exactly right. And we need more representatives in Congress who do that, who have an understanding. Look, what it is it gives you an empowerment to fight for the people, because you know in your heart that you're doing the right thing when you've actually sat down and had that conversation. Because
Uh-huh.
for me, for somebody to take 20 minutes out of their day and show up at a coffee shop at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to talk about whatever the issue might be. I mean, it could be something as simple as, look, I can't get my number on the do not call list. I mean, it could be something as simple as that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's a significant issue for them as a voter. They've taken 20 minutes out of their day to go meet somebody who's running for office to talk about it. That means that's an issue that has got to be addressed.
And I'm here to tell you, in all of my years of political commentating, and those things matter, and those people won't forget that.
Right. That's
They
exactly
will
right.
always remember the time they met whoever who was running for
Mhm.
Congress, and they will have an instant connection to you or whoever that person is, because it's so simple.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
We have to
uh,
get back to just being human and cordial and being able to say how we feel and what we need, and not being attacked for it, or
yeah. Yes.
it's what we believe.
Yes. Well, look, for me, I mean, this is the reason it's the reason that the First Amendment exists, is so that we can engage in this particular process. I mean, my entire political and legal career has surrounded fighting for the First Amendment, whether it be on voting issues or
Which you would
campaign.
think would never be an issue, right?
And,
I mean, we are grounded.
but the
Imagine if I could not do this, if it was illegal for me to do this.
Right, right. No, and look, I mean, the left has become emboldened by the actions that have been taken lately in our country, but they want to engage in the process of shouting people down instead of engaging in the dialogue. And the dialogue is the most important part of preserving our republic. We all have to understand that we all have issues that we hurt from, and we want people to learn from, and we want people to understand. And at the end of the day, we have to be able to continue to talk about those things, even if the other side gets offended by it, but they need to understand it.
Well, and let's talk about the left for a little bit. I mean, they have controlled the narrative from the media, and they still are trying, but they've lost. They lost that in 2024,
They
obviously.
did. Yes.
But the power that the left-wing media has, and the message it's still getting over, and that's what they are trying to fight for. That's why they want the First Amendment to be their way,
Oh,
not
absolutely.
everyone's way. And
Absolutely.
I
Look,
know that from being in media in California, to where I just couldn't take it. It's just beyond. And the reason I got back on to why I decided to go back and do a show was after the 24 election, and independent journalists are what got Trump over the line. It was
Well, without question.
people like me who have a much greater platform who got on air every day and did what they did. I mean, I'm not going to compare myself to Joe Rogan, but Kamala didn't go and
Right.
Trump did, and it's just so important that we have the First Amendment, and people do not seem to understand that.
No, they don't for sure. And look, this new the platform of using a podcast to be able to talk to people, is the equivalent of that local meet and greet that you do. I mean, here people can now log on and they can get to the content, and they can, instead of in 30 seconds that they get on MSNBC or CNN or whatever it might be, they can actually
Mhm.
get to know a candidate. They can ask the tough questions. They can talk about the issues in depth, and those are the things that the left wants to shut down. I think that I think that the right in this country prevails. Because one, because we're right on the issues, but two, because we're not afraid to engage the other side and prove how right we are on the issues. I'm willing to sit down and have a debate with anybody anytime about what it is that I believe and why I believe it to be right. And if you have the ability to convince me otherwise, that's fantastic. And then that means it was a very productive conversation for me. But the left never sees it as a productive conversation when people leave the argument enlightened and having a better understanding of what it is being discussed.
Right, and Charlie Kirk comes to mind when you talk about having a debate and
Ab-
listening, having a conversation.
Absolutely.
Um, the
I mean,
left
yeah,
just doesn't want that. They want
no,
their message, and that's it.
right. And they have absolutely lost the battle when violence is the only avenue that they have left. But we have to understand that they're also at that point. They have reached the level of where they no longer want to have a discussion. And when they start breaking the law, that's when we have to fall back on the fact that we are a country of laws and that the rule of law means something. And you're no longer engaged in First Amendment activity when you engage in violence. Nothing frustrates me more than when I see Antifa marching in the streets and
Mm.
destroying property and attacking people, and they say that they're, and somehow or another acting on their First Amendment rights. You're not when you do that.
Right.
In fact, you've crossed the line, and you're acting as barbarians.
Talking about political violence, we've had a heavy weekend. I just was skimming the news right before we went on air that the Brown University shooting suspect was released.
Mhm.
One of the gals that was killed, 19 years old, her name was Ella Cook, 19 years old, vice president of the Young Republicans Association at Brown University. Tell me how that university does not have every single thing that happened on camera and they can't find anything.
Well, for me, it's shocking that they don't have that they don't have everything. The suspect being released, I think, I am very disturbed at one. The level of activity and violence that we've seen on our campuses really gets to what I was speaking to earlier. I mean,
Right.
the left has completely lost the ability to engage in the public square, and all they have left is violence. And we have got to get to a better place in our country where the left recognizes that they're going to continue to lose if their only avenue is violence, because in our heart of hearts, man wants order, and they want to understand. We don't have any problem with people disagreeing, but we can't disagree violently with people, and that's what you've seen. And then you look at what happened in Australia. I mean,
Yeah.
before we came on, I think the death toll is now at 15.
Yeah.
Purely anti-Semitic effort, and we can't continue to have that. And I would look at the situation in Australia is one of those things where. I thank God for the fact that we live in the United States and we have a Second Amendment. I mean, you're not allowed
Yes.
to own a firearm anywhere in Australia. And so there was nobody to come to defend in that particular situation, including some of the law enforcement people that showed
Yeah.
up did
Yes.
not did not have the ability to defend the citizens. And so when Australia's given up their right to firearm ownership, they've really given up all safety and security.
The latest I saw right before we came on air was 15 killed, ages 10 to 87. It was a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach,
Mhm.
and 11 minutes before cops engaged. That is
That's
not happening here in the United
Yeah,
States.
no, that is just unfathomable.
11 minutes, high action, bolt action rifles.
Yeah. That is just that is it's so sickening to me to hear that. That after the Uvalde shootings that took place here in
Mhm.
Texas, every law enforcement agency has gone through training now to be able to respond. And at least in the Brown University shooting, we saw first responders who are rushing to the sound of the gun
Mhm. Yep.
people, and that is obviously where we need to be. Obviously we need to do a better job of mental health services and things like that for some of these people. But again, with the rhetoric on the left that is just charging people up and saying that violence is the only answer they have because they're losing in the war of words,
Yeah.
is absolutely wrong, and we have to say that it's wrong, and we have to call out those people who are inciting people to that level of violence.
Well, and we can't leave out radical Islam.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Islam is completely incompatible with Western civilization. It has
Um,
been since the beginning of time. It is founded upon attacking Western civilization and pushing back. And, the growth of radical Islam in the United States, and particularly in Texas, is something that I want to focus on when I'm in Congress. There are over 60 mosques
right,
in
in Texas
San, San
or San
Antonio
Antonio, sorry,
San
yes.
Antonio alone, yes. So in San Antonio, having 60 mosques, and um, you know, I, I'm not saying that people can't have a religion and practice their religion, but when you move outside of the walls of the church and you want to impose things like Sharia law completely disregards any Western cultural
Mhm.
understanding of the rule of law. It is very much a rigid system of rules and governance, which are barbaric. And at the end of the day, do not treat people equally,
Not Western,
fairly.
and it's always been the goal to take over Western civilization since the
Ab-
dawn of time, since the
Absolutely.
dawn of time.
Absolutely. And if you look at what's happening in New York and you look at what's happening in Minnesota, they're using our own laws against us. They're
Mhm.
using our belief and understanding of the rule of law to say, oh, we have a First Amendment right to do this. And it's okay for us to engage in child mutilation activities. It's okay for us to treat women differently than men.
Um,
It's okay for us to attack individuals and harm people outside of the judicial system. And the fact of the matter is that's not the case, and we have to put in very stringent requirements and laws that limit and eliminate any type of Sharia law in our country.
Well, 90% of Muslims are friendly and peace loving. I'm just using that number.
Sure,
10% are not. That's a huge number.
that is
10% just in the US. That's a
right.
large amount of danger. And
No,
I'm
it's
going back to Brown University, and this is my opinion, but it's a very liberal school. Rhode Island, very liberal. The mayor, the president of the university was interviewed 6 hours after and had no idea what the kids were doing in that building. I feel that they know who this person is and they don't want it. It's not going to fit their narrative.
Oh, I think you're probably right. I mean, particularly when you mention I mean, one of the victims there. I mean, it's an amazing coincidence if that's the case, that she was just randomly there. So I think
And Brown University has a very high Jewish student population, and it was the first night of Hanukkah.
right. No, I think very much that's what you're going to see is something that doesn't fit a narrative that the left wants to portray.
They want
Um,
the narrative to be a MAGA Trump supporter, white kid. That's
that's
what they want it to be.
That's exactly what they want it to be, and I think that I think you're probably right. Again, we're speculating here, but at the end of the day,
I just can't
in
believe I
all
was
of these other, yeah,
married to law enforcement. I know how a lot of this stuff works. They have cameras. They
Right.
know who this person is.
Right.
There's no way they can sit there and tell us they don't know who did this. They have cameras everywhere. So
Right.
it's very interesting. It'll all come out. It always does. The
It
truth
always
comes out.
it always does. Yeah, you're right. So, but
Yeah.
you're right. I mean, this is they're trying to craft it into a narrative that is workable for the left, and again, what they ought to do is just go with what the truth is, and let the truth speak.
Truth? Are you kidding? Truth. Oh, oh, they don't even like it when we tell the truth. Are you
That's
kidding?
right. Exactly right.
They don't know
Uh,
that word. They don't know that word.
Very true.
So take me up to we have a primary here in on March 3rd.
Yes.
And we have how many candidates?
So there are 12 candidates who are running in Congressional District 21 on the Republican side. There are 3 candidates who are running in the Democrat primary. So what you'll end up seeing probably on both sides with those number of candidates is a runoff election, because in Texas you have to get 50% plus one in order to be declared the candidate. So after the March primary, we'll have a runoff that'll happen a couple of months later. And same thing will probably happen on the Democrat side to flesh out who will go on to the November election.
Okay. How are you feeling going up to the primary? What are
Oh,
you
I
going to
feel.
be doing?
I mean, I feel great about where we're at. I mean, I was talking earlier about these meet and greets that we have. The number of people that are showing up at these meet and greets and asking questions has just been phenomenal. We've been all over the district.
It's a big district, like
Yeah,
it's land wise, space,
it,
geography wise.
Yes, it's a huge district, 9 counties. And so at the end of the day, you have to get everywhere and see everybody. But I feel really good. For me, I think we've turned the corner from, starting out as a candidate. You're always calling and saying, hey, can I show up? Can I come talk? Can I come speak? Can I come do these things? To we've gotten to the point now where people are reaching out to us saying, hey, we really want to have you at our meeting to talk to our group, and we really want to have people to talk about these issues. So for me, I feel really good about where we're at in the race. You look back, you would always like to do things differently. I would have loved to have gotten in this race earlier than when I did in October, but I was still
Hey,
I
you're
was
doing
still
well.
yeah. No, and I was still trying to finish up things of the Doge effort, and talking with the people at the Trump administration. And they said, hey, listen, can you hang on for a couple more weeks? We just want to get this last thing done, or we want to get this last budget submitted, or,
You can't
we
say
got,
no
we
to
got,
Trump. You can't
all
say
of,
no.
all of these things, and so you defer to that until at the end of the day we just said, okay, October's the time to pull the trigger. And then it took us a couple of weeks to get off the ground as far as fundraising and things like that, but our fundraising numbers are we're hitting all of our goals,
Good.
focused on that. So it really is just for me, I enjoy the opportunity to get out and meet and talk with people. My wife is incredibly supportive of me. uh,
Lovely,
she
Lucy.
she
Lovely.
loves.
Had so much fun with her the other day.
Yes, and she loves traveling to all of these events with me as well. So that makes it fun. Haven't gotten all the kids. We've got the kids to a couple events, but not to all of them. But we have 6 children, and so our goal is to eventually get all 6 children in some way engaged in the campaign, if for nothing else than a civic learning experience.
Exactly. Yeah. Boy, I would have loved if my dad ran for Congress when I was in high school. I would have been all over that. I do come from a very conservative family.
Oh
In
yes.
San Francisco, is my grandfather and my father were self-employed business owners.
Okay.
So yeah, and my father's retired now and he's still conservative. Still, he's a big Trump supporter, but I grew up in a very conservative, fiscally conservative household
Right.
because they were self-employed. And
Right.
most people who are self-employed are conservative.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so it wasn't like when Trump came to town, I became a conservative. I've been a conservative my whole life. Um, Tell me about what do you think your number one, I don't want to say hesitate, concern is for the upcoming campaign?
Probably the biggest concern that I have for the campaign is, look, with this number of people running, there's going to be some burnout of the voters. I
Yeah.
can I can, knowing what kind of plan we have to send mail to people, you take that and you multiply it times 12. Even if all of the other candidates don't have the same budget that we have, you're still going to have voters who just get flooded with information and they have to cut through the clutter. And for me, that's the biggest concern is cutting through the clutter. And on top of that, you have a very high profile U.S. Senate race between John Cornyn and Ken Paxton
Right.
uh, going on, and so you have a lot of Republican voters who are focused in other areas. So
How do you feel about that race?
well, I mean, look, I'm running my own race, and so I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. I know both Senator Cornyn and Ken Paxton. I know them both to be good, upstanding gentlemen. At the end of the day, either one of them is going to be able to defeat Jasmine Crockett. I mean, Jasmine Crockett is the gift that keeps on giving. On the left, I think the Speaker of the House said it best.
Oh, yeah,
We need to put more money into her campaign and just let her keep talking, because it probably drives more and more people to the Republican side than ever before.
yeah.
With all, I mean, the vitriol that she spews and some of the just backwards thinking, it's amazing.
I would not like to have her on my show. I could not tolerate this. I couldn't. I could
Yeah.
not. I couldn't keep a straight. Yeah, no, yeah, no. But
Yes.
Ken Paxton's had a bit of a reputation here in the state, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm going to reach out to both of them too. I'd love to have them on. I like Cornyn. I do like what he has
Yeah.
to say.
Well,
And I agree, they're both going to give Jasmine a one-way ticket out of the
that's right. That's
Senate.
right. Well, and it's great to see her leave the house. I mean, it's important for us. The other thing I think you asking about, what's important out of this election, for me, it goes beyond the district. It's making sure that Republicans maintain control of Congress,
Yes,
and
very
you know,
important.
we have several tight districts around the country. I mean, the 21st district is solidly a Republican seat. Obviously the Democrats think that there's some opening for them, otherwise they wouldn't have three people running in the 21st district. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I think we have a solid Republican turnout, even without the president being on the ballot, that we win. We don't necessarily have that in other seats around the country. And so it's important for us to focus our resources on making sure that we maintain control of the House, and that we maintain control of the Senate. We cannot
Uh-huh.
have a full 2 years of the president going through what we did when the Democrats had control. And, all they want to do is impeach the president, impeach members of his
Yeah.
cabinet. And the country is actually moving forward leaps and bounds right now. Price of gas is down. We're starting to see, the affordability crisis is subsiding. And so we see all of these things happening, and the Democrats just want to put a complete stop to that.
Well, I understand that Trump has sent a message to all candidates that he wants affordability to be one of the main things that you're talking about in campaigns. Is that true?
Absolutely. I mean, affordability is incredibly important. And look, they inherited a horrible economy from
Yes.
the Biden Harris administration. Most people don't remember it because we have very short memories. But the price of eggs was one of the number one issues when the president took office. The price of eggs is now back down in
I just
controlled.
paid $3.49 at HEB and they were over $6 a year
Exactly.
ago.
Exactly. If they, and we had the shortage where if they had them actually because of all of the viruses and other things that were going around that the Biden
Again,
Harris.
it was a man-made crisis.
It was, and so but affordability is incredibly important, and I think here you see, we probably felt some of the pain of the tariffs early on, and I think we're now starting to see the fruits of those tariffs pay off because we're starting to see the price of things come down, and at the end of the day, one of the number one things that Congress can address is making sure that the economy is strong,
Yeah,
and
I can't remember. I saw one of Trump's, oh gosh, economic advisors yesterday on with, I think, Margaret Brennan, one of the liberal,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
and he broke it down brilliantly in the essence of now we have to deal with like the energy costs, like home heating, electrical. And he was explaining how electrical is a monster to try
Yes.
to get, because Biden stopped the coal mines, he stopped
Hmm.
nuclear, he stopped everything.
Hmm. Yes.
And so
Yep.
now oil and gas is better. We're drilling. Do you remember, like, they even went into our strategic petroleum reserves
Right.
to bring oil. I mean, that is ridiculous to do that. We had like 4 days worth of oil by him
Right.
emptying our strategic, supply. And it made a lot of sense to me. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, we have to back out of that mess. With now we've got coal production, we've got hydroelectric going, we've got all these, where the Biden administration shut down every single avenue to get us electricity.
Well, they did.
So,
They moved forward with the Green New Scam and said that wind and solar was the way to go. And one, we don't have the resources in place to do that. They have no consideration whatsoever for our property owners that have to, give up property in order to put those places
yes.
in. I mean, complete disregard for property rights. And I think that's part of what you're seeing with these battery energy storage systems that they're trying to put in the hill country is, they ruin it. People that are supposed to be environmentally
Yeah, they're
concerned,
supposed to be for the environment,
and
but
yet,
let's drop a
and yet,
bomb on it.
yeah, I mean, you come in and you completely destroy these beautiful views and vistas that we have in the hill country by putting in something like a battery storage facility, which has proven problems. In South Korea, they've caught on fire, they've leached all sorts of material into the ground, and here they want to build them on top of our aquifer, where they would leach into our groundwater system. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really problematic. And it's something that has to be stopped. Most of it's being done at the state level, which is fantastic. But, at the federal level, you have to make sure that you're not subsidizing those type of things and that you're releasing all of the regulations so that we can, in fact, drill, baby, drill, so that we can, in fact, get our coal out and get those things done. And we really need to get to the point of talking about building new nuclear power plants in the country,
Yes, absolutely.
because we're not in the 1960s and 70s when things are unsafe. I mean, things have been incredibly modernized so that they are incredibly safe and can generate electricity to fund everything. Texas is unique in that it has its own electric grid. So we're not really tied in with the rest of the country as far as electric
But
utility
our
production.
electric costs here is very expensive.
They are. They
It's
are.
not cheap. My electric bill is, I'm not going to say it's a whole lot cheaper than when I lived in California.
No, that's right. That's exactly right. And a lot of that is government regulation that comes into
Yep.
play over the
Red
plants.
tape, red
Yeah.
tape,
I mean,
red
if you
tape.
if you break down some of the other extra taxes and everything else that goes into that to offset some government program, is probably where that comes from. But I mean, we can get it cheaper with natural gas. We can get it cheaper with coal, and we need to build more of those plants.
Yeah,
Uh, frankly, all across.
that's what his economic advisor was saying yesterday. I want to talk in a little bit about the what's the word? Get along, the GOP, how they all come together. I'm losing a word. How they
Sure.
all get in the same tent and play nice.
Yes. Yes.
So I did many radio shows with Michael Reagan. He's a good friend of mine. We've done a lot of shows. And he always said the biggest problem with the GOP is they can't pick a horse. They cannot all come together. And
Right.
he's absolutely right.
Right.
Because the Dems, they're thick as thieves.
Right.
They
Right.
don't ever, they come together if for the craziest reasons.
Right, right, right. Well,
Do you
unlike
agree?
team, there's an I in Republican. And so the Republicans are absolutely very independent. It's part of what gives us our conservative bent is that we believe in our own ability to accomplish things. We're not looking for somebody else to give us a handout. We want to do it ourselves. But you're right. I mean, the Republicans, particularly here in Texas, we've gotten very good at putting together the circular firing squad and going after our own. One of the things that I've been encouraged about my race, even with 12 people in the race, is that we have not devolved into attacks against each other. There are unique differences amongst all of us. A couple of my opponents have never voted in the Republican primary, and I think that's important for people who
Right.
are looking into who they want to support in the primary. And I don't consider that to be an attack when you're talking about people's factual records. We have
I'm
candidates.
wondering if the attacks will come after the primary, though.
They may, but at the end of the day, look, I'm willing to put my record of public service up against anybody's. I don't mind taking the slings and arrows. I've been attacked by the left in Washington D.C. numerous times. They were not happy with the job that I was doing at the Federal Election Commission. They're currently not happy with the fact that I'm running. Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington has filed a lawsuit to get access to my papers at the Federal Election Commission because they think there's something that's being hidden there that can be
Yeah.
used against me
You
in this
might have
case.
helped Trump in some way.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
Shock
right.
horror.
Exactly. So, at the end of the day, I think that Republicans, at least in the 21st district, will get behind me
Mhm.
and will win in November. And I obviously will encourage that across the board for all of our Republicans in the state of Texas, is that we all focus on the common enemy, which is the progressive left
Yeah.
and the growth of liberalism and socialism and communism that we're seeing in the Democrat Party.
Yeah. No, I like what you said. There's an I in Republican and you're independent thinkers. I like that. I'll text Michael Reagan that later.
Very good.
No, talk about he's an old school GOP. Like
Oh, yes. Oh,
and let
absolutely.
me tell you, he has some great stories
He
about
does.
his
Yes.
dad in the White House. And yeah, him and I are
Oh,
very good friends. I've known him for a very long time.
that's great.
Well, I think I've asked you everything. I think you're a strong candidate. I told you I will not endorse until
That's
after the
fine.
primary. I'm interviewing Mike Wheeler, who is another Republican.
Mhm.
He's coming on my show later this week. I've reached out to Tashera. No
Mhm.
answer. So if he's in town, I'll go up to him and
Very-
confront him face to face. But I'm very excited about this race. I think we have some, you are a strong candidate. Wheeler has also been associated and working with Trump, but we need this. We need your kind of leadership, your kind of integrity, your background, and I like that you have a real direct connection to President Trump.
Well, thank you very much. I never really saw myself on this side of the ledger as running as a candidate. I've always been the lawyer behind the candidates and working with them. So,
Does
but I
that give
really,
you an advantage? Does that give
yeah,
you an
well,
advantage?
it does in some respects, just because what's great about it for me. All of the consulting class are all people that I've worked with. All of the activities are things that I have vetted from a legal perspective, from buying radio ads and TV ads to mail pieces
Mm.
and those type of things. So it gives me some level of advantage. Obviously, it doesn't give me the advantage with the voters, and that's really what's important. What gets me an advantage with the voters is actually getting out and meeting people and talking to them, and we're going to continue to do that throughout this campaign, whether it's for those of you that live in the 21st district, I hope to be standing on your doorstep asking for your vote. But if not, we'll have a large series of meet and greets and coffees and those type of things as well.
Well, I look forward to following you and following Michael Wheeler and the Tashera guy. I don't have firsthand knowledge of him. I haven't met him yet,
No,
but I will be following this very closely up to the primary. Love to have you back on when we get closer to the primary.
ask Maureen. I would love to, and I wish you best of luck with your show. I think it's fantastic.
Thank, thank you.
You're just so incredibly personable to be able to talk with, and
Thank
we
you.
we need more people out in podcast world doing this type of thing. So thank you for taking the time to do it.
Thank you so much. And no, I'm not going to say happy holidays. That was almost a liberal thing to say on my show. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Merry
Mer-
Christmas to you and your wonderful family. And let's work our way to March 3rd. It'll be here before we know it.
right. Thank you so much.
And I look forward to following you and having you back. And thank you again, Trey. And let's make the best for District 21 in the Hill Country of Texas.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.